All right, Mr. President, when you are ready.
Truly?
Yes, sir.
All right. I call to order the Westlake City Schools regular board meeting for Monday, December the 14th, 2020. Roll call.
Kraft,
Here.
Stoll,
Here.
Fanouken,
Here.
Lazinski,
Here.
Piernot.
Here.
If you would, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we acknowledge all of those that are joining us tonight, and as we do, as we approach our winter break, I wish to express on behalf of the entire Board of Education, happy holidays and happy New Year. Many words have been used to describe this year. We're choosing the words of resilient, extraordinary, and diligent as we refer to our students, our staff, and our families. You've all done incredible work. You've worked very, very hard, and you've done such great work, and you've persevered during one of the toughest challenges really the world is facing. We say thank you for your important role you have played this semester and this year. And we hope you'll get some rest, that you have some fun, and that you spend good times with families. We hope the new year brings blessings, joy, and peace. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Piernot,
Yes.
Lazinski,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we will have a hearing of the public, and I'm looking for Mr. Kosovar. And I don't believe we have anyone that wishes to address the board this evening. I'm going to move on to approval of the minutes. We've all had an opportunity to review the minutes of past meetings. All of those in favor of approving the minutes say yes. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All of those that do not approve say no. The minutes are approved. I'm going to move on to board items. And I'm going to move to a resolution of the board to carry out board meetings via electronic means during the COVID-19 state of emergency.
I can speak to that if you'd like.
So have we been doing these meetings illegally?
No, not at all. So we did a similar resolution to this back in March or April when the pandemic started, and we did it under the authority of, I believe it was House Bill 197. That only ran through until December 1st of 2020. Due to the ongoing pandemic, they've passed another law in Ohio extending that through July 1st of 2021. So we've been advised on legal counsel to be in compliance, to have the board update their resolution, their original resolution, so that's very, very similar to the resolution that the board passed back at the beginning of the pandemic that does give the authority to meet or to be in compliance with the state law to allow the meetings to be virtual, similar to like we're doing today with kind of a hybrid virtual here or completely virtual. Additionally, it has some provisions in there like we've done before where we're setting aside board policy such as public participation. While we have tried to allow that and we've had it, and have good public participation at certain times. If we're in a situation where we've done a complete virtual meeting, we don't allow it at that point. So there are some provisions. We've tried to be as flexible as possible through this pandemic to allow for both the in-person, virtual, and also allow for our stakeholders to have input. And I think the board has done a nice job of finding that balance. But this is just to make sure that we're in compliance with the new law that was passed, extending it until July 1st.
Okay, thank you, Ted.
Bear with me for a moment. We also have a resolution.
Well, if you'd want to vote on this one I would
we do
encourage you
that?
to vote this one
Will
second.
do.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Is there a motion to approve board item 3A?
I have moved by
Stoll.
Kurnat. Dr. Stoll, would you like to second that?
Yes.
Discussion? Roll call.
Kurnat,
Yes.
Stoll,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lizinski.
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we have a second reading of revised policy.
So yeah, just to mention that this is the athletic revision for the 1.5 GPA requirement. Now, the OHSAA has actually extended they've waived eligibility for the entire year now. They've extended that through the spring sports as well. However, this resolution that we're passing is for winter only. We're actually hoping to be back in school for the spring, which is what we're anticipating. So we are keeping this to winter only, and it's only waiving the 1.5 GPA requirement if students participate in design study tables. So
Thank you.
that's what that is.
And how many students do we have?
At the time, the last I checked, it was about 7. So it's not very many.
And protocol, can I work on the others? Can we look at these together, or would you prefer them one by one?
No, I would do them one by one.
Yeah, we'll do. Is
B,
there a motion? Yeah, go ahead.
B is a second reading. You don't need to have a motion for that.
Okay,
So you can move into C if you like.
thank you, thank you. Moving on to the board policies. We have a resolution to approve policies. Is there a motion to approve 3C?
So moved.
I have Lizinski has moved. Mr. Fanouken, would you like to second that?
Second, yeah.
Discussion? Roll call.
Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Kurnat,
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Hopkins, you take D?
Absolutely. So D here is our nomination and election of a officer, President Pro Tem. This time of year, every year, we're asked to elect a President Pro Tem for the organizational meeting. So at this time, if I could call for nominations for President Pro Tem for the 2021 organizational meeting until a new president is seated.
I would
Um,
nominate,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I would nominate Joe Kraft.
Are there any other nominees? Hearing none, this would be this is not the official vote. This is just voting, accepting the nomination of the position of President Pro Tem for our first nominee. So all those in favor of naming the nominee as Joe Kraft? Fanouken?
Yes.
Kraft?
Yes.
Lizinski?
Yes.
Kurnat?
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
As there's no other nominees, we will have our President Pro Tem for a vote listed as Joe Kraft. Is there a motion to list President Pro Tem as Joe Kraft for the 2021 organizational meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? I will do a roll call. Dr. Stoll?
Yes.
Fanouken?
Yes.
Kraft?
Yes.
Lizinski?
Yes.
Kurnat?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Moving on to 3E, the resolution to set the organizational meeting date. And we plan on doing that on the 11th at 6 o'clock.
Is
And-
that, what's the deadline for?
So our deadline, we have to meet by January 15th generally in order to do our tax budget hearing and get that over to the county. So we typically do that along with the organizational meeting. The 11th would be plenty of time to do so. Additionally, this follows kind of our schedule of being the second and fourth Mondays. So it's the second Monday of January.
Sounds good.
There too, we're approving the calendars as well, Mr. Hopkins?
No, we will do that at the organizational meeting itself.
Cool, thanks. Is there a motion to approve board item 3E?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Here not,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lazinski,
Yes.
Stoll. Stoll?
He's saying yes.
Oh,
Thumbs up.
I can't hear you, but I will take that as a yes for the record.
Moving on to informative reports and recognitions. Dr. Goggin?
Yes. Thank you. I do have some things I would like to recognize this evening. Something positive that just seems to happen on an annual basis is the success of our academic challenge team. Actually both at the middle school and the high school, both John and Sandy Packus have been leading this for years, and just every year after year, up there with the best in the country. Just the 12th, so this past weekend, the Lee Burnison Middle School Academic Challenge team competed in the Copley Middle School Tournament. This is the first virtual tournament that they've ever done. Team 1 finished undefeated, 7-0 against Cloverleaf, Harmon, Columbia, Revere, CVCA, Heritage, and Roxborough. And we had a second team that competed and finished 2-5. They just really wonderful showing. Westlake High School participated in the Questions Unlimited Fall 3-2-1 Challenge National Tournament, where the high school finished third in the nation of 117 schools that competed and was first in Ohio.
Wow.
So I want to take a moment to recognize and congratulate both Mr. and Mrs. Packus as well as their team. Another thing that just has been nice to watch come together has been our bringing Hilliard Elementary School back online. And while there's a lot of work going on from contractors, what I have to talk about is our classified staff as well as Mr. Kosovar, where we have had some days where we've been virtual. Not many, but last Friday, and there were some other days. And instead of, we wanted to have our classified staff continue to contribute, and they have been going and helping us paint. And it's been, I was there twice while they were painting, and it was fun to watch them because you have bus drivers and other workers who typically are bus drivers and other workers. Now they're painters. And so the feedback we were hearing was they liked being busy in a different way, and it was kind of therapeutic.
Nice.
So it was kind of, I think they enjoyed having that break in their typical routine. So that was really fun to watch. Another point to bring up is SWC play has resumed. As a conference, we have resumed athletic competitions. We know that this was not easy, sometimes not popular, so we would like to thank everyone for their patience. We also want to ask for continued patience. As we've been in these conversations about bringing competitions back online, once we start doing what we're doing, quarantining teams is going to become something that's just going to happen. And it becomes very frustrating. And when a team is quarantined, you can have positive cases, and then the positive cases come back before the quarantines. So it's just, this is going to be a very unique season. So we are back on and we're playing, but please be patient with the quarantine process. There's going to be a lot of them, whether it's our team or another team. We're going to have to be flexible. We can have a game on Tuesday against Berea, and then Berea goes into quarantine, we may either not play or play someone else. We may be in that situation as well. So even though we're back running, there's still a lot for us to do. The second thing that we really want to ask, and one of the things we heard from the health departments as well as the governor, if you've watched the governor's speeches, a big concern is not only how some contact sports are designed to be on the ice or on the court, but also before and after. You know, we're going to go through a lot of safety protocols to make sure we're keeping people separated when we can, masked when we can, and then they're going to leave and 8 kids are going to jump in a minivan and do things like that. So it's the congregating outside. We really would ask for help from folks and support in trying to keep that going, because once a team is quarantined, then they can't, not only can they not play, but they also can't practice. And that's another thing that the athletic directors are working on, is some protocols in how long, how much time does a team get back together after a quarantine till they can start playing again? Because if you spend 2 weeks and you haven't practiced, you haven't done anything, and you come out of quarantine on Monday, and then you have a league game on Tuesday,
Right.
is that really what you should be doing? So there's a lot to work out still. So while we're excited that we have the competition resumed, there's still a good amount that we're going to have to be working on. The next item I just want to mention is instructional model. We are finishing this week in our hybrid model. This week we have been keeping our parent choice option open. Now this is different than the other parent choice where people would commit to a full semester. When spread is as high as it is, we are fortunate enough in our instructional delivery design that we can have students just stay home and continue to participate virtually. So we did leave that open for this window as well. It has had some interesting results, particularly in our higher grade levels. The classes are very small in person. At Westlake High School, we averaged just over 200, probably about 220 students per day last week. And when you think about the size of Westlake High School, 200 students in Westlake High School make it look like a ghost town. It is not uncommon to walk around and see 2 or 3 students in a classroom. And but that's 2 or 3 students who prefer to be in the building and learn better that way. So we are doing that, but it is something that has been very interesting to see. We have, and just at the high school, I was interested in this. We do have this right now. We have 397 students who are full virtual in the high school. As a district, we currently have 930 students enrolled in virtual learning. So not quite a third of our students are enrolled in that. The window right now is open for second semester and it closes on January 4th. Right now we have about 360 students who are already signed up for that. We do expect that to grow. Our thoughts are that parents are probably monitoring numbers, and we're talking about cases to where if there's a lot of spread, they may make a decision to stay home. I've had some families say to me that they've been watching our hybrid model and seeing that we haven't had spread in school, so they're considering coming back. Now, our concern is that, second semester is a time we want to come back all in. So I don't know if that would impact folks as well, where they say, well, gee, I'd want to come back, but in the hybrid format, not necessarily the all-in format. So we do have some time between now and January 4th and some information to share, but that's where we are. Continuing to run in the instructional model we are in. It's interesting, one of the things that we're dealing with is staffing, and I don't say it in a negative way. I don't say it where staff isn't showing up. Staff is showing up. Our staff is really doing a nice job showing up, and we've been really impressed with it. Because when you think about it for a second, this, going through and staffing in the pandemic and dealing with COVID is so different than your typical cold and flu season. Now, when I say it, I'm not comparing COVID to cold and flu season. What I'm saying is when you look at staffing in a typical cold and flu season, you would have a staff member who would develop symptoms of, let's say, the flu, and then once they're better, they come back to work after a few days. Now they're out for almost 2 weeks. And then we're even at a point where if you come into contact with somebody who had it, you're out for 2 weeks. So it just grows exponentially with the number of people who have to be out with one case. We can have one case and have 7 people out. So that is an impact that does impact our staffing. And then when you think about our sub pool, which is typically small in the first place, they're human beings who live in communities. They either are getting ill or having family members or people they've come in contact with. So our pools are shrinking. So there is a concern about staffing. We have been treating every day almost like we would snow days, in a sense, to where I'll tell you how I typically have to work in a snow day is you stay up till a certain time watching the news to see what to anticipate if things are bad right now, if we can't keep up, and then you get up in the morning and check it again. And it's the same thing with staffing, where Bob Maver and our contact tracing team and our principals are watching all the staffing. We're seeing where we are at night, and then we're checking again where we are in the morning, and we're monitoring that every single day. And so far, our staff has been great. I mean, we've had some shifting to do from the high school, and what we would do is take aides and classified staff and move them to supervised classrooms, because we want to keep our teachers at the high school teaching. They'll still be teaching remotely, so we'll utilize classified staff to do some supervision. Now, we are in hybrid right now, but going into this holiday season, we do have a concern over this holiday break. We saw a significant jump, and it mirrors the rest of the country. We saw a very significant jump after Thanksgiving. We saw it after Halloween, and then we saw it again after Thanksgiving. Now we take a 2-week break that has multiple religious holidays and has New Year's Eve. And our concern is that realistically there are going to be a lot of family gatherings over this 2-week break. When we met as a team internally and we included our school nurses, there was the concern about coming back on January 4th in person. So the recommendation from our team was to come back in virtual for the week of January 4th, and then back in hybrid on January 11th. Now, when you think about that, the 4th is the Monday right after, and then the 11th is the following Monday. And so one of the reasons for that is the last big celebration that we'll have prior to kids coming back is New Year's. And so when you look at January 1st, and then you look at January 11th, that gives us a 10-day window for symptoms to present. And so that was our thinking for it, let the symptoms arise, and then be able to bring folks back in a more safer environment. Now, I'll say, I'll brag about it to where we haven't had the spread, but I also don't think we've had the volume we're going to get, coming out of this break. That was the conversation we had. Our nurses were really concerned. I understand where they're coming from. I'm concerned as well. So that's what I had in my report, and I'll let you ask some questions, but I would like to, like President Kraft as well, wish everybody a very happy and a very safe holiday season.
Questions, comments for Dr. Goggin?
Have we seen an increase with staff or students, or one leading the pack versus the other?
Well, definitely students, and we've definitely seen an increase, John. And I'll tell you, we had, I think, 109 students quarantined last week, and I think around 40 staff members. One of the things, that's not the highest we've had, it's the second highest. The highest we had was, I think, around 117 students, but that was right after Halloween. And a difference that we're seeing now is the quarantines after Halloween, the majority of those were from 3 incidents. We were able to identify there was a party here, there was a party here, and then it was with the football team where it knocked out 25 football players because, there were a couple players who came to practice who tested positive. So you have that type of a situation where you had larger numbers. Now, we do have, our basketball team did go into quarantine, but a basketball team is much, much smaller than a football team. So while we had we had some numbers there. What's concerning to us is it's less chunks. It's more like 3 kids here, 4 kids there, 2 kids there, and so we've seen we didn't match our largest number of quarantines, but we've seen it spread out more, which is a little concerning.
I'm curious, have you, in some of your conversations with all the other superintendents in the surrounding area in the conference, have you been able to do any kind of benchmarking as to how we are faring versus some of the others?
I think we're right on track. So we do talk about the numbers, and I think it's by week. So I could be on a call with so the superintendents, and we could be low and they could be high. But boy, I think there were schools that had like hundreds, and a lot of times those spread through teams. So what you can have. So I'll give you an example. I know a Lorraine County school, after a football season, there was a big party that knocked out just a ton of people. And so then the other thing you can have is one of the areas we have been fortunate is we really haven't crossed over sports. So right now, I mentioned we had a smaller football quarantine and then a boys basketball quarantine. But sometimes what you find is that the basketball quarantine then leads to the girls basketball team or to the wrestling team. So you have that cross-contamination, if you want to, call it that, where you have it go from team to team, and then you have like 3 teams shut down. So like I said, we haven't had that yet. But as I mentioned in my, when I talk about bringing back competition in the Southwest Conference, that will happen. It's going to happen at some point where we'll have multiple programs shut down, and we'll see the numbers really jump. But yes, it's right on par with what the other school districts are seeing a lot of times for those reasons.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions, comments for Dr. Goggin?
I'm overall hearing very positive comments from a number of families. Really just major props to the flexibility that the school district has been doing with the hybrid model, giving parents a choice last week, this week, in understanding and following science. I know a number of parents have reached out, and when they saw that the first week back is going to be 100% virtual, they were able to sort of have a sigh of relief. There's a lot of concern about parents about New Year's Eve celebrations in particular because of just sort of the pent-up anxiety of 2020 and the excitement of a brand new year coming.
Right.
So.
And the other thing, and one of the things that, even though we've provided that, and I still think it's the right thing to provide that option this week, it is difficult to teach across multiple platforms. So when you look at it from an instructor's point of view, it's easier to teach either with all of the kids in front of you or all of the kids virtual, as opposed to splitting it. So that's why I'm really not that, I'm not that concerned about taking that week afterwards. I think it's the right thing to do.
Other questions and comments? If not, let's move to Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really, I'll just give another quick update on our audit. We are proceeding through audit. Our gap conversion's been done, and a lot of the CAFR paperwork has been turned over to the state auditor's office. We use a third-party CPA, Julian and Grube, who do the gap conversion, as well as the CAFR, and then the state of Ohio auditor's office actually audits our books. It is scheduled to be done by the end of the month, although we don't have the date set for post-audit just yet. I know they are, excuse me, they're working very hard with a number of audits to get them wrapped up, and it's just a challenging time as their staff is not allowed to necessarily work on site like they typically do. So a lot of it is being done via email or sending information back and forth for them to access. So, but it is proceeding along well. There's been no major concerns brought to my attention in any way. So I feel good where we're at right now, but we are running into crunch time on finishing that over the next couple of weeks. Once we have post-audit, once they want to set a post-audit, I'll certainly notify. First, we've done our finance committee as our audit committee, but it is open to the full Board of Education, so anyone who would like to attend, I will give you a fair warning, it will probably be virtual this year. And as always, it is a meeting of the Auditor of State's office. It is not a Board of Education meeting. It is a meeting of the Auditor of State's office. Therefore, all 5 board members can attend, and it is not open to the public. It is a private, confidential meeting until the audit is released, which will usually happen within a couple weeks after post-audit meetings. So that's where we are with our audit process.
Thank you.
The only other piece, I would just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and a truly joyous holiday season. It's different this year, and I know it's going to be a challenge for a lot of people because of situations of not seeing family that we normally see, but I still hope that we're all able to celebrate our holidays with the family that we have nearest to us. So
Thank you.
beyond that, I can move into my recommendations if that's okay.
Let's do that.
All right, so I have 5A, resolution to approve permanent appropriation. Again, we just have some changes moving around. I do have a couple of additions on there, but not significant when we look at a $50+ million budget. I have 5B, some then and now certificates. If you have questions on there, please let me know. I do have 5C and then 5D. And 5C and D are both 2 different settlement agreements. We've done these in the past, I think, with both of these apartment complexes. One is Sturbridge Square, the other one is Westtown Gardens. And this is situations that we run into where, and typically we do these over a 3-year period like these are, but every property owner is able to challenge their property values. And as we go through this process, you would bring it to a board of revision, and then ultimately you can take it to the Board of Tax Appeals. And it can be a long, drawn-out process. And we use an attorney, David Seed from Brinza McIntyre Seed. I've worked with David for most of my career, both at Brooklyn, and then he's also worked here both with me and prior to me coming here. But there is an option that you can do a out-of-court settlement, essentially. It's not really court in this case, but it's a payment in lieu of tax agreement. And so these are our 2 settlement agreements with these 2 entities. It does have direct payments to the school district. I believe that it's in the best interest of the district, and that's why I'm representing it or recommending it to the board to approve. Both of them have the agreements that has been sent to the board to review. It does bring in some income, but it also allows us flexibility that after that 3-year period, if it's not valued where we feel it should be valued, again, we can go through this process again and work through that. So those are my 4 recommendations that I have before the board. If it so pleases the board, I'm happy to combine all 4 together.
Is there a motion to approve Treasurer's recommendations 5A, B, C, and D?
So moved.
Second? Discussion.
Are you the second,
Aye.
Mr. Kraft? Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Hopkins, this is one of those examples I think we talked about a few meetings ago, that it's the one-time funds coming in. And I think the years were 18, 19, and 20 in this particular case. And going by memory here, I mean, it'll definitely be a little over, what, 100,000, 150,000 for the 2 combined?
Actually, a little higher than that. I believe one of them is roughly 3 payments of $80,000.
Oh,
And the other one, I believe, is 3 payments of $20,000.
Oh, that's right.
And
So
for
that's,
the
that'll
for the
be-
tax years, they cover 18, 19, and 20, which is actually for us fiscal years 19, 20, and 21.
Right. That's good. Good found money. Good use of legal.
Further discussion? Roll call?
Here not?
Yes?
Kraft?
Yes.
Fanouken?
Yes.
Lazinski?
Yes.
Stoll? I'm going to take that for the record as a yes. Actually, Dr. Stoll, I'm going to have you disconnect real quick and have you reconnect and see if that would work, if that's okay with you. And motion carries, I'm sorry.
And move on to, want to wait for Bob to reconnect?
And I apologize too. It looks like our one camera here kind of has gone all fuzzy as well. I'm not sure why we're not quite working the way we should tonight, so I apologize.
Blame it on COVID.
No, if Google can have tech issues, we all can. That's just how it is.
To say between Google outages and Amazon outages,
Can we hear you?
now he's muted.
Unmute yourself. Is he muted?
He is right now. No, we still can't hear you.
I could hear you, but it was very, very, okay, it's getting better.
Check my audio. Give me a second.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I start to hear him a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit.
But Bob, you can hear us okay?
I'll adjust.
Okay,
All right, good.
thank you.
Fantastic. We're going to move on to superintendent's recommendations.
Sounds good. 6A is a motion to accept gifts and donations. Waleed Darter donate $100 to the Green and White newspaper at Westlake High School. 6B is a resolution to approve salary increases. These are due to educational steps, as you can see where they were and where they are. This is a motion to approve special education assistant at Westlake Elementary School. Letter D is approval of athletic supplemental contracts for the winter. And just to note, and just to make sure that it may look like there's Daniel LaRocco and Daniel Rocco. Those are two different people. It's not a typo in any type of way. And then we also broke down how people would be paid. And this is part of our memorandum of understanding where we didn't want to just pass these like we had in previously where someone was approved and then they just got the whole pay. We understand that we have seasons that may not start, they could be interrupted. So we do have it broken down into 50% of the contract if practices begin and no regular season games, 75% if games are held, and then the supplemental shall be paid in full if the second half of the season is played. So just to point out that we did break that down. Letter E is a resolution to approve a licensed substitute. Katrina Schmitz is in a long-term position at Westlake High School, and we do plan on her being for a bit longer, so we are approving her to come on in that position. And then we have a resolution to of a performance contract, Tracy Mengus, for wrestling team hydration assessments. Have to be honest, I don't know a ton about the hydration assessments, but my understanding it's a safety assessment that we need to do with our wrestlers. Resolution to approve a change in contract with Carol Flanick. It is moving for her day from 7.75 hours to an 8-hour day. And finally, letter H. So this is something, if you recall, when we worked on our memorandum of understanding with our teachers about having 15 FFCRA days, one of the things that we had intended was to also extend that to our OPSI staff, to our classified staff. Now, the reason we didn't create another MOU with OPSI is we already had, I think, 2 or 3 done. And so we thought that we can just resolve this by having the board pass a resolution instead of entering into a whole nother memorandum of understanding. So this was something that was discussed a while ago, and we're putting it on the agenda for tonight. So if that is something the board would like to do, I would say 6A to be separate, and then B through H, I'd be comfortable in having them come together if that's good with you guys.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 6A?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? We always want to say thank you to those that make donations to the city schools, so we thank you very much for that. Further discussion? Roll call?
Stoll,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes.
here not.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 6B, C, D, E, F, G, and H?
So moved?
Second.
Discussion.
I think extending the FFCRA to the classified staff is a good move.
Yes, I would like to send out my appreciation to actually all of the organizational units in working with us throughout this entire time. Obviously, it's unprecedented, and everyone's worked pretty well together. And hopefully, this will continue on in some of the other things we're working on.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
here not.
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we have board comments.
Okay, I would like to tell you that last week, Liz and I had a curriculum meeting and we toured Westlake Elementary with Amanda and Kathy Maxwell. And we saw firsthand how difficult it is. Dr. Goggin mentioned that, teaching in hybrid is probably the most difficult for the teachers. And we saw that because they would have the monitor with their virtual learners in front, and they had their classroom of children in front of them, and their attention, needs to be at both places at the same time. They work very, very hard. I really enjoyed our tour, and it was very interesting to see the school in action in hybrid mode.
It really was great to see the students and the staff in action, and just really, unless you were really paying close attention to see the monitor with, the Brady Bunch squares of the kids at home, the kids in the classroom were acting like kids in the classroom. Like you wouldn't necessarily know unless you had walked through in a previous year. So it was great to see the kids, interacting in a classroom, in the school building, the way you would hope they would. So.
I think you also, one of the things that you guys mentioned as well, which I got to watch today, again, is dismissal, just on how that has evolved as well.
Yes. As I said before, it was a genius move, and I know it was the principals that probably came up with it, but I was really impressed with their dismissal for their car riders. And it's a system that they can keep if we ever get back to whatever normal will be. It's a keeper.
Can you give us a nutshell description of dismissal?
Yeah, so I was watching, do you guys want to describe it?
So
It's
the
yours.
best
Go
way
ahead.
I would describe it is, it's like being at a live auction.
Right.
It kind of is, because there's one staff member who goes outside and starts writing down numbers, and each car pickup has a number, or each person picking up a group of kids. It might not always be the same family, but if it's one person who picks up, this group, they know that this is their number. And they start jotting them down, and then it's projected up onto the screen in the cafeteria. So the kids come into the cafeteria and they sit down. They're socially spaced out, but they come and sit down, and then when they see their number, they head on out. And one of the music teachers is basically running a live auction.
Mr. H. Yeah.
Saying the numbers. So it's kind of like, that's the best way to describe it, is just
Yeah.
like with like paddle numbers type of a thing. Where we're not auctioning children off.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it is.
Should it be recreated elsewhere?
Well, they said that Mr. H does it differently too every day. I mean, whatever idea he comes up with to call off their numbers, and it was just fun to watch. And Mr. H is very creative, and
It works really well, and especially with little kids who you've got multiple cars where, and that's the thing, you're dealing with much younger children where like DIS and Bernison, it's older kids. Most of them by that point even have a cell phone where a parent can text and be like, I'm out in the parking lot, come on out. And
So it
send them to
wouldn't
high
work.
school. I don't think it would necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's good where it is, and I think the important part to bring up, like Mrs. Lazinski mentioned, was Mr. H, and I was able to watch him today do it. And it's taking a simple process and routine and making it fun.
But yeah,
And you know, and I just said, I was walking with Mrs. Musselman today through the elementary school, and just targeting our music department of Mrs. Schillinger and Mr. Hauk. Talk about two just fun people in general. I mean, just kind, funny, great to be around, and to watch them do that and watch Mr. Hauk run that. It's just watching dismissal be fun is just kind of a neat thing to see.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, especially something where it, let's be honest, dismissal for K through fourth graders, it's kind of organized chaos. This, I mean, it was totally organized. There was no like chaos about it. And there's even one boy walking out, and it was cold that day, with a coat and inside out backwards and trying to hold it. And I think it was Mrs. Tucker who pulled him off to the side and got his coat on him. So it was kind of nice to see, you know, the interactions that you would normally expect to see in an elementary school.
Thanks. Further board comments?
I really just want to make a comment in appreciation of all of the hard work that our Westlake staff, our teachers have done this year, and our students and families, just all of the patience and resiliency through 2020. I mean, this has been one heck of a year, and you know, I'm wishing everybody a safe and happy winter break and enjoy time with your family.
I just have a quick comment. I just want to say, happy holidays to everybody. 2020's been a strange, unprecedented year, and hopefully 2021 will be much better than anticipated. Thank you.
Further board comments? At this time, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees?
So moved?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
To adjourn into executive session at 6:47 PM. Fanouken,
Yes.
Piernot,
Yes?
Kraft,
Yes.
Lazinski,
yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Will this work?
What we'll do here is we'll just, give me 1 minute. All right, you guys can disconnect, and we'll have you join the other meeting in another couple minutes.
I think this will work fine. Good. This is a good location.
Do we want to shut doors?
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Okay.